Hello, this is the Portman Podcast. Phil and I are chatting on this July 29th, and we're still on the question, who are you? Starting to get interested in dogs in Buddhism and more info on the self. I really have been leveraging the time scale framework and how past, present, and future involve the 6 basic moods, and then trying to just live in the present more. So kind of blending everything together. Where we get to is around readiness, not as something that you ever achieve, but more like the journey. And so this has to do, again, with the same opinions we have about past, present, and future and what's available to us. So we just try to go deeper into that stuff. And let's begin.
Hello. Oh, I think you're muted.
Hello, Phil.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for your patience. Sorry for the delay.
Oh, it's all good. It's the prompt, you know, I've been kind of swimming around in circles anyway, thinking about where we left things last time and kind of allowed myself to go fully into the rabbit hole of uh thinking about how I think about thinking about myself. And
Oh, right. We left with the who we are question.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay, good.
yeah, that's been it's funny, like I find myself I constantly assessing the way I'm going about thinking about this question, you know.
Interesting
uh,
point.
it's like, oh, that's you know, that's not a like well, I guess like what trips me up is like when it's clear like the traditions or the conventions that are like structuring my approach to self describing it feels like a imposition of arbitrariness that doesn't relate to me at all, but just, is part of how I've come to use language and the things we then do with language, about
That's theory
ourselves.
for you.
And yeah, it's kind of like I don't like that my mind wants to like use words to answer this question because part of me feels
Hmm.
indignant that there's like so much more to me than words.
Right.
And,
I think what
uh,
I landed on has a lot to do with like semantic nervous system stuff.
hmm. Well, so do you have a what you would be prepared to call a coherent answer to the question?
Hmm.
You
Well, I would
don't have to be.
ask a follow-up question is if you wanted to express it in different points of time.
Mm.
But otherwise, no, it's just a regular behavioral thing going on here, much to my chagrin. After deep contemplation and analysis and reflections on orders of consciousness, manyfold, I've realized is just we'd be here now. I mean, it's like the simplest, you know, book to write.
Yeah. I found that when I was trying to resist the use of words at all, but like also being forced to admit that like there are just flatly true things that can be said with words that do, you know, without a doubt describe me. Uh, but dare not reduce me to them. Uh, the words that I found myself least mm, imposed on by were like organism. I'm comfortable with operating within the constraints of being what we call an organism.
You thinking about
Uh,
longevity?
I mean, actually, that question doesn't come up, although it probably should. It's certainly relevant.
Well, it's why
Uh,
I asked if you wanted clarification to speak about this over time.
yeah,
Therein lies.
it's when I think about time. Admittedly, the first framework that came to mind wasn't one of like wasn't really about duration or like, but so much as just the recognition that like at any given time. the constraints of the moment, you'll see a different me. Uh, and I guess it's true that like the later me's are the ones closer to death.
Sure.
uh, um,
Constraints of time, you said?
hmm?
You said constraints of time?
Yeah, or yeah, the constraints at least of the moment in time, the event that we're describing
Context?
me relevant to or relative to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, context is powerful and it matters.
yeah.
Kind of like
I think it's
creates guidelines and structure.
well, that's kind of part of what I realized as I'm trying to fish around and just thinking, all right, there's got to be at least I can play the game of what words are more or less uncomfortable.
Right,
And
right.
like,
I tell
try
you,
to,
from a linguistic action perspective, I think you've identified the difference between an assessment and an assertion.
yeah,
Yes, because the truth we share and believe in around each other is our assertions.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny. It's like
eh,
structural walls, and people sometimes hold them like concrete barriers. Like no matter what's coming at them, they've got their assertions.
yeah, yeah. I do. Well, what something that came to, I found myself swirling inside my mind thinking like, there's all these different voices in there. And it's like part of the, even if I accept like the imposition of the structure of language on my identity, I don't like the particular implication that like I'm any one thing, you know?
You know what?
Uh,
Actually, I will. Can I shortcut to the my key to how to be, so to speak,
please,
as a reflective being, uh,
please.
or I would say a learning
Mm,
being.
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like that usually acts happens through the act of reflection as of different, time scales and perspectives, and so it's all fun to be curious, and I guess that's the best part of life.
Yeah, I admit I've been preoccupied with this theme lately, so I don't know if, how much of an influence that has on it, but I also think it goes both ways. I'm preoccupied with the theme because my intuitions are circling around it or, kind of identifying it as an important thing. And
Mm,
the that is the centrality of agency, the pure bliss of just like
mm,
being able to see yourself as a cause of something.
fuck yeah.
And it's like it seems like it's the root of everything, whether that's good or bad, but it's kind of like I'm gonna try to do something
Mm,
and I'm going to hopefully learn by, observing and uh presumably I'm not acting entirely chaotically, but I have like an idea in mind of what I'm trying to do.
all
And
right.
like I can assess, you know, either did that work or, did it turn out it was a bad idea?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, the experiments.
yeah. And just kind of cycle through the feelings but all of
Yeah,
that is requires first and foremost that I'm trying to do something.
isn't it
If
funny
I
how like with networks of folks, it feels like you're talking about an emotional process for people in group situations.
mm, hmm
It's
yeah.
really interesting to convince them it's true. It's like that level of regulation is important and it involves very much a like bodily experience and then like a congruency with the thought in mind around that story. So I ask, what what powerful perturbances have you made to other people's nervous systems lately?
uh, well, other than to my wife, who,
Oh, good.
in fairness, is asking for it. We, uh,
Cool,
it's actually
man.
been a somewhat solitary stretch of time for me. I've been uh, doing a lot of work where I've had that chance to have headphones on and just kind of I've been listening to lots of books and
Speaking of
kind of
which,
not been hyper interactive, admittedly. Um,
yep. I'm
and
going to try to do a screen share here shortly. I've really not a great um, understanding of this will work, but I'm going to try. Oh, here we go. Yeah. obviously super smooth here on the tech. Just speaking, I just wanted to share a background, kind of. We got time, and I figured it's what we're about.
Yeah,
So just change the subject. My garden the
love
other
that.
night. Thought it was worth showing off.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, like, I've literally have recordings of ducks in your background, real ducks.
Oh, they are being very mm, aggressive at the moment. I think it's a molting
Mm-hmm.
season, and
Yep.
there's a whole lot of actual nothing, no way to describe it other than violence going on in the park.
Yeah,
It's
no
kind
doubt.
of
Duck sex scares me, dude. I've seen that. It's
brutal.
like it's alarming.
It's truly alarming. Hard not to want to take sides and like
And oh man, I grew up like right next to a creek in a river valley, and like in my elementary school years, I mean that was had a severe impact on me.
it's uh could be an interesting point of departure for reflection on how our narratives about nature work their way into moral justifications for power structures that exist in society. But not our topic.
Yeah, agreed. Back to the assessment
Yeah.
connections. Power structures comfortable.
Comfortable?
Fuck yeah. That's the second time I've said that tonight. I mean it. So if
Yeah.
assessments are and is a twin to assertions, we live in both of them all the time. 100%. And I would say the same about declarations and promises and requests, just because that's what John Searle said a long time ago, and he's way smarter than me. And I'm just putting it together.
What do you mean by, can you clarify for me what you mean by live in them all the time?
Well, because we're reflective beings, we have the capacity to think about
Hmm.
them, and they matter. Every goddamn one of them.
So it's like we always have a lurking background. These are kind of like background
Pressure.
processes.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
expectations. Those are assertions. It's what your compulsions are, I would say, is your commitments, your promises.
Yeah.
And then the reflection of all that is your learning being, I suppose, because we live there too right now still. It's happening. The long now movement has been great, but it still gets us nowhere.
I'm kind of, as it's the stupid, the reflection in the mirror that, always threatens to turn into one of those infinity reflections. But, I, I think like, as I try to think about my lived experience of thinking, the sort of like the internal, if we can go there, that it's like there's this like whiteboard like on this side of my skull, and like that's really just like a fixed thing that is deciding to move around this like other like space, and it's directing my attention. My attention is going to this or that or whatever. And maybe I don't have to move my head. Maybe I can move the world around me and just slide into view whatever, I want to be attending to at the moment. And it's like there's there's all the stuff that's there to come to pull to mind. And then there's the processes whereby we decide what to pull to mind. And, I guess this is the thing I wonder the most about, like the experience of other people. Like the part that I have the hardest time, like, I know that all I'm doing is like assuming that your experience is fundamentally similar to mine, which is generally speaking, uh, an assumption I'm willing to make because we're all the
Yep,
same
it
species
sounds
and whatever
normal,
else, you know.
but
But there's the just the simple fact that like you could, it doesn't seem like there's anything that I know about the human that means that necessarily like the construction of your internal world, like the literal, like almost like spatial construction of it is similar enough for certain like agents for certain type of action words to make sense.
Mhm.
It's like there's a I don't remember if it was the Tibetans or the Indians, some Buddhist monks at some point, maybe even before that, developed this technique where I think they call it like the mind temple or something like this, and it's like the deliberate construction in the imagination
Oh,
of this room or this building with all these different layers, and it's something like I'm just kind of winging it here, but it's something like every level of the building is like a year and like every room in it is like a day. It's not necessarily that, but just this idea that there's this sort of like structuring of time and but it's rendered spatially
interesting.
so that you can
Or-
kind of choose to navigate down the hallway of this or that and
Yeah,
just a way to organize your memories.
and life cycle
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's
Cool.
like we do that with language, kind of like whether we intend to or not.
Right.
Like
That's
those
where
are very intentional.
my
Hmm?
biases will, or prejudices, or where I'll express myself is
Yeah.
where you'll see me.
And it's like we're always constructing some sort of structure, at least using language and maybe more deliberately using imagery and other things, but it's like
Mm,
we can be active participants in this process to some degree, or it can happen entirely by default, but in either case, it's happening and it sort of constrains where our imagination can go,
totally.
you know?
Yeah. I'll say another way.
Hmm.
If you're stuck on being ready, uh, that's how you be. I mean, it's like you're there. Yeah. And a lot of traditions are reinforcing that as the best move. Speaking of like artificial yet real constructs in our minds, being ready is really important. And so like that can be pretty consuming for a set of assessments to live under. And that's where I think reflection comes in. And like guides all of us because yes, assessments are important. That assessment of you should be ready, that's can be powerful as well as religion. It's the same sort of situation. It's that whole
Well,
set.
maybe it makes me think that maybe an interesting way to approach the question of identity, like who am I, by maybe one angle on it is what am I trying to be ready for? Or, like, and what does being ready mean for me? There's something personal there. There's something about my inner structure that's revealed by that question. Uh, like I guess if I were to try to answer it, I would say, you know, I want I want to be ready for what's actually happening. Uh, and you know, try not to be
Too rude.
or just too yeah, or just too like there's so much that's not actually, there's so much happening in here, I guess to say actually what I meant is, I want to be able to be present to the world that's around me rather than and imposing the the default structures of my own expectation or a desire too much because I and the reason that I want to that for that is entirely selfish. It's because I suspect that there's something a value that I'll miss, and it's as vague as that. But I feel like there's something of value that I'll miss if I, you know, allow the world to be too much. If I don't make some effort to use the world not just as a mirror, but as a window.
Going
if
back to agency.
Yeah, and and I guess yeah, does come down to there. It's like what is the thing of value that I think I'll miss? Like ultimately, something useful, probably. Uh,
Best I could guess is like like being seen and being heard. That felt sense of that feeling of being seen and being heard. That like being witnessed to, which is
mm,
like I think the best honor amongst people, generally speaking. Listening is, I feel like, the only gift I have to give in the world.
yeah, it's uh, it's true. I admit I don't think in that frame a lot of, uh, but I do think in the related frame of like I only have so much time,
Ah, yeah.
time being scarce and the
Well,
attention, only so much attention to give, and
I'll tell
feeling
you,
like,
I'll tell
yeah,
you from that six basic moods framework, the orientation is into the future with like a willingness or an openness or a readiness or some kind of driven curiosity that drives you to wonder.
hmm
So the future orientation, I mean, that's it.
hmm
And I would say that's what I think most philosophers would say, something around how life is lived the way it's intended to be
mm,
for each of our contexts, because all those social constructs are massively.
yeah, yeah. Mm. I read a book this week on it's called The Order of Time,
What?
and it's by a quantum physicist, and it's I don't know. It was recommended by a person who is the person I know who has more time to read than anybody, and I generally trust his judgment that
Awesome.
that it's a good use of time.
I'd like
But
to check it out. We're at the 1 minute mark, Phil.
oh no,
Yeah,
yes, we have a
sorry I
short
joined
time.
late on this call.
Oh, it's all good.
Thanks again for your
Um,
patience.
yeah. Well, I look forward to next time for sure, and
Agreed.
yeah, I hope to be able to be more. Uh, uh, this last one went by so fast, like it's just like a blink of the eye, and yeah,
It'd be fun to target a connection trip F to F in you know, by September.
that sounds good. I
You're
like that
close.
idea.
You're close, my friend.
It's true. It's true, and it's beautiful. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
right on. Well, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Well, thanks for the wonderful chats, man. I really loved reflecting with you tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. Let's stay
All right.
engaged and see you soon.
Thank you. Take care, Matt.